Hello there, you're watching our television. Welcome to State of Business. I'm Pumudha Kadugampala. Our top stories for tonight. Sri Lanka reaches 12-month high in business confidence index. Coordinated debt restructuring process should be appreciated, Japanese government says. Welcome back, and now news in detail. Now, a local business magazine reports that Sri Lanka has reached a 36 basis point increase in the LMD Nelson IQ Business Confidence Index, representing a 12-month high for the country. This information was revealed to the public through the May edition of the business magazine. It said the International Monetary Fund's $3 billion extended fund facility, which was approved on the 20th of March, has surely been instrumental in bolstering business confidence, and efforts to restructure Sri Lanka's mountain of debt has since taken a positive turn, with three key sovereign creditors, India, Japan and the Paris Club of Nations, announcing full support. It adds that the hype surrounding the long-awaited IMF facility has translated into sending the LMD Nelson IQ Business Confidence Index skywards, even if the barometer has yet to reach its point of a year ago, which is 116 basis points, and the all-time average of 124. Its Director for Consumer Rights said that with the country slowly beginning to pick up once again, and as socio-economic indicators continue to improve, the BCI will continue to gain ground. It explained that the confidence boost from the IMF facility and news that many major state-owned entities are under consideration for divestiture may sustain the momentum of the last 2 months. Meanwhile, Japanese Finance Minister Shunichi Suzuki welcomed the launch of a coordinated debt restructuring process of official bilateral creditors of Sri Lanka. The finance minister said this while speaking at the Board of Governors business session at the 56th Asian Development Bank meeting in Incheon, Republic of Korea. The Japanese finance minister insisted that the creditor committees swiftly implement debt restructuring for low-income economies under a common framework. He said that Japan is expecting the ADB to work with the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank to enhance debt management capacity and transparency in developing member countries. Suzuki also called on the region to stay vigilant for the downside risks of the prolonged Russian invasion of Ukraine, debt issues in developing economies, and increasing financial risks seen in the recent turmoil of the banking sector in the US and Europe, as it could hinder global economic recovery. Japan is a long-time partner in Sri Lanka's socio-economic development, as well as in the process of peace enhancement and reconciliation. Japan is also a long-standing donor to the government of Sri Lanka. Japan is a founding member and a donor country of the ADB and has provided $22.05 billion in capital subscription to ADB. The country has also contributed and committed $15.98 billion to special funds since becoming a member. Meanwhile, Sri Lanka and Bangladesh are planning for a preferential trade agreement, which is expected to eventually lead to a free trade agreement. Now, officials at the International Trade Office established at the Presidential Secretariat said that first official discussion will take place at the end of this month online. According to a study conducted by the Bangladesh Institute of Development Studies, the proposed PTA could potentially increase the volume of trade between the two countries, leading to a 25% increase in bilateral trade within 5 years. The study further says that the proposed PTA has the potential to increase bilateral trade in fabric and yarn, benefiting both countries. So far, under the proposed PTA, Sri Lanka has sent a list of 112 items seeking duty-free access to Bangladesh markets, while similarly, Bangladesh has sought duty-free access to more than 100 products in the Sri Lankan market. The officials at the International Trade Office established at the Presidential Secretariat that the two parties would finalize dates and venue to hold negotiations on the proposed PTA during this virtual meeting due end of this month. The officials also said that the first stage would be a PTA, then it will eventually lead to a free trade agreement. They also stressed that the government has planned to conclude negotiations for the proposed PTA by end of this year or early part of the first quarter of next year. Stay tuned for more stories after this short commercial break.
5-star, Seat out.
IWS Aviation.
Welcome back. You're watching State of Business. Now, NJS parliamentarian Professor Gil Peiris says that there was no any legal requirement to receive the Parliament approval for the Sri Lanka's agreement with the IMF. However, Parliament voted Friday to support the implementation of a 4-year International Monetary Fund program aimed at solving the country's economic crisis and reducing its debt burden.
Last week, Parliament adopted the agreement that had been signed between the government of Sri Lanka and the International Monetary Fund. Parliament approved of it. In support of that, the government received 120 votes, which was only 7 votes over and above the number of votes required for a simple majority. That is 113 votes, so they just received 7 votes more than that. Now, there is certainly no legal requirement that this agreement should be submitted to Parliament for approval. That is not a legal requirement. It is also contrary to previous practice and tradition. But there was a reason why the government adopted this measure. They were well aware that the implementation of this agreement would be exceedingly unpopular. There would be strong resistance from the people because of certain conditions that are contained in this agreement. Therefore, the government was reluctant to accept sole responsibility for this agreement and was very keen to share a part of that responsibility with Parliament.
Meanwhile, parliamentarian Gil Peiris, who represents the Nidahasa Janata Sabha in Parliament, said that the lifestyle of general public will not be so satisfactory due to the current tax system. He also said that the government needs to look for solutions soon.
Our people have to bear the brunt of the increase of taxation. Now, can they physically bear this? During the next 4 months, the yield from taxation will go up 119%. So that is more than twice the amount that is collected today from taxes that are levied on the people of our country. Now, from today, the concession that was given in respect of customs levies for wheat flour has been abolished. That has been done away. We already have a very serious problem with regard to malnutrition. 1/3 of the children in our country are suffering from malnutrition. The World Bank has officially declared that poverty is doubling in Sri Lanka. Then the result of this agreement is that Sri Lanka loses any authority to make decisions with regard to the interest rates, whether they are to be increased or decreased as circumstances require from time to time. That can only be done with the approval of the International Monetary Fund. Now, this is a matter which impacts directly on the daily lives of our people. It can result in the closure of factories, the loss of livelihoods on a very significant scale, especially in the small and medium sector. So all of this is going to impose untold hardships on our people.
Now, Ceylon tea prices fell 50 to 150 rupees per kilogram at an auction on May 3rd due to increased offerings and strengthening of the rupee. Forbes and Walker tea brokers said in a report that this total auction volume was increased to 6 million kilograms and there was good general demand. Forbes and Walker in the statement said that the lower trend in tea prices perhaps could be attributed to increased volumes, lower quality and a marginal strengthening of the Sri Lankan rupee. The weekly average fell by 96.98 rupees to 1,155.94 rupees from 1,252.92 rupees. The high-ground scale average was drawn by a fast 88.81 rupees to 1,126.98 from 1,215.79 rupees. Quality of teas from the western, Nuwara and Udapusalawa planting districts showed a slight decline, particularly in the liquoring characteristics, whilst the ewers were barely maintained. BOP and PF prices fell by 150 rupees and the price of BOP fell by 100 rupees while BP1 fell by 50 rupees per kilo. Ceylon tea brokers said that the drop in quality was the main reason for the price drop. Price of OP or OPA and PEK were down by 100 rupees while OP1 and BOP1 went down by 50 rupees. However, low growns comprised 2.4 million kilos. The average price of low grown, however, fell 111.68 points to 1,203.83 rupees per kilo in the last auction. Leafy and semi-leafy catalogues met with the fair demand, whilst the small leaf categories were easier. In the leafy and semi-leafy catalogues, OP1s in general were firm. A selection of BOP1s too sold on last levels, whilst the balance was easier. The medium-grown sale average fell 51.51 rupees to 1,005.91 rupees last week. FBOP and FBOPF1 fell 150 rupees per kilo and PEK1 fell 100 rupees per kilo. However, OP1 was up 50 rupees per kilo. In the low-grown category, BP1s continued to sell well, whilst the PF1s often declined by 50 rupees per 1 kg on average. Stay tuned for the stock update. Welcome back, you're with State of Business. Now the stock updates. Trading at Colombo Stock Exchange ended on mixed notes today.
The all-share price index dropped 11.84 points to close at 8,914.74, and the S&P and SL20 gained 11.03 points to close at 2,604.47. The turnover was 0.6 billion rupees and over 28 million shares were traded.
Coming up next are forex rates. Well, that's a wrap from today's edition of State of Business. For this and more, subscribe to our channel on YouTube and follow us on Facebook. Thanks for watching. Take care and good night.